I don't know about you, but I hate it when I'm watching a great movie, you're getting right up to the end, and then the ending comes, and bam, it sucks. I'm pissed, I'm annoyed, I want to die. I want them to die. Well, that's my own sadistic mind. Here's 4 films that were ruined by the ending. The first film on our list, Gangs of New York, is a 2002 tale about revenge. Well, that's the simple way of putting it. Otherwise, it's a 2002 tale about revenge set during the uncertain and ever-changing time of the Civil War, which is what the movie kind of shifts to towards the ending. You see how this is a problem? It's as if the director, Martin Scorsese, got bored with the script about halfway through and thought, now let's just change it about the corrupt system that we live in and violence against US citizens. It's such a jarring shift that when our hero, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, finally gets revenge against the maniacal, just absolutely batshit crazy Bill the Butcher, played by Daniel Day-Lewis, it just comes off as very weak. In the big final showdown between the said gangs of New York, instead a Union cannonball blows up next to Leo and Bill, and seems like shrapnel was really the killing blow to him. So Leo just kind of finishes the job. And only stabs him one time. This man ruined a lot of people's lives and killed a lot of people, including Leo's father, played by Liam Neeson. So this bastard kills Liam Neeson, and all you do is just stab him once. He holds your hand. It's very odd. And then by having the whole side story that overlaps it, where it's like the corrupt system won? Hooray? I hate to even bring it up, but it kind of seems like the film is almost saying that, those were the good old days when gangs were ran by racist gentlemen who were true patriots. And then the corrupt system wins at the end and things change. It all seems very pointless, I guess. Maybe that futility is what he was trying to convey with all the violence and everything. That it was kind of pointless, that revenge just brings more death and destruction. But at the same time, it doesn't seem to make sense with the rest of the movie. I don't know, the whole ending is a goddamn mess to an otherwise decent film. Next up, we have a very tedious retread of the original Blair Witch Project in its true sequel, 2016's The Blair Witch. First off, I need a little bit of backstory with this film. You see, this movie wasn't good, but it had so much potential. The weird part is that the story is sort of a combination of ideas from the first film and ideas from the first sequel that they made a year later, Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2. And those ideas are that the witch is somehow real, but also perceived by the people in the film as whatever their minds think of her as. There's a story in The Blair Witch from 2016 that says that when Ellie Kedward was tortured, her arms were elongated and stretched out, and when they came back to check on her, she wasn't actually dead yet, she was still alive. And there's a line in Book of Shadows in which they talk about how these little bastard boys tortured her, so that kind of lines up, that you're like, okay, it must be about perception of what they think she is, and that's perhaps what they see. And I guess the director said that the monster that you see at the end of Blair Witch 2016, which, spoilers, it's supposed to be the witch, it has elongated arms that are stretched out. Well, the director said that that's not the case, that it's actually not the Blair Witch that you see, which is weird because he doesn't really explain why it is or isn't. He just said it's not. With that being said, the ending to this film is really what sinks an already sinking ship. The brother of Heather from the first film is trying to find his long-lost sister. Him and the final girl, can't remember her name, don't care, they make a promise to each other that if we don't look at this thing, it won't get us, so let's not look at it. So they stand in the corner just like the ending of the first film. The only difference now is there's a cool thunderstorm going on, so there's rain and lightning and everything. And first brother hears Heather's voice. Now, They both know that the monster's right behind them. He hears the voice, he turns and dies. What a shock. Then, the girl, knowing that this literally just happened right next to her, calls out the guy's name and turns and looks. So she dies. If you would have had one character survive, you would have had an interesting setup in case you wanted to make another movie about it. Instead, I don't know if they're doing a remake of the films in any way again. There was talk of a TV series that could explore it, and there's some new video game, so who the hell knows. The point is, the ending made sure that this sucked. In case you had any doubts. Third on our list is a 2006 monster movie by now famous director Bong Joon-Ho. You probably know him as the director of Snowpiercer and now the critically acclaimed Parasite. Although to me, he'll always be the director of The Host, because I haven't seen Parasite yet, and Snowpiercer was an atrocious mess. That movie's terrible. A lot of good actors, interesting concepts. I agree what the film is trying to say, but my god, it was just awful. I don't understand the hype or the praise for that movie at all. In The Host, we follow a somewhat lazy and discouraged man as he tries to do something with his life with encouragement from his daughter because she still believes in him. Now, he's not a good father and he has to finally step up and become one. So, long story short, he does while defeating a kick-ass monster, but the daughter dies. Now, I get from a tragedy standpoint of how this angle could work. All this effort that he finally puts into it comes a little bit too late. But with the tone of the film and what it's trying to say to the audience, having his daughter die really just makes his life worse. And at the end, they kind of make it seem like, oh, you know, he's going to get back on track and all this stuff. But it really feels kind of not very sincere. It feels like he would be more motivated by fear and loss than from the love of his daughter. Or love for his daughter. Because the way her death comes off, it feels almost like it's a punishment for his selfishness. But it really doesn't quite set it up to be heading in that direction at all. Like, her dying felt very hollow and not enough to warrant it being tragic. So it adds just a slight blemish to an otherwise decent watch. And lastly, okay, I'm not going to sugarcoat it at all. Pet Sematary is a goddamn depressing movie. But it's good. But it's depressing as shit. Sometimes dead is better. And if the audience can learn this within a few minutes of watching the film, then why the hell couldn't Louis Creed learn that during the events of the whole goddamn movie? Especially when everything he goes through proves that point. Jesus Christ. It's almost insulting to the audience, and it's definitely insulting to the character's intelligence. His son and cat have killed people and tried to kill him. So when he takes his poor victim wife, who was killed by their son, or maybe it was the cat, you never could trust that damn cat, out of grief and just sheer stupidity and perhaps madness, he decides, well, if it went the same way the first two times, why the hell would it go this way another time, right? There's no way it could happen like that. He has a literal ghost telling him not to do it on multiple occasions. He knows how it works, but he doesn't care. If you buried your cat in an evil cemetery and it brought it back evil, and then you buried your son in the same place and it brought him back evil, why would you think burying your wife in the same place would have a different result? That's insanity.
What are you yelling about?
Pet Cemetery.
Well, shut up or I'll kill you.
Oh, will you bury me in the pet cemetery?
No.
No, I feel bad for him. I mean, he's losing his mind. He went through all that shit. But guess what? You kind of made that happen. You buried them there. Poor old Jed or whatever was telling you, sometimes dead is better. And he's like, oh, damn it, Lewis, I never should have told you about that place now. Well, guess what? Now he's dead too. And on top of everything else, he doesn't even think about his poor daughter. The fact that half of her family's dead. Oh wait, all of her family will be dead because you'll be killed by your wife probably. So good on you, man. That's it. I'm gonna go bury myself, and then when I come back, I'm gonna kill myself.